Oh, okay.
button.
Is it on yet?
Should be.
We're gonna have a little bit different. We're gonna have, Nick, I'd like for you to have the prayer. We'll do pledge allegiance and then Chuck's gonna sing the national anthem for us.
Okay. Father, we thank you tonight for your grace and your mercy. Your love for each and every one of us, unconditional love, that should mean something to us. And Father, this season of the year, let us embrace you and realize, God, your love that you gave in a person, your only begotten Son. So guide and direct now tonight and forgive us where we fall short. Be with those, Father, who might be in harm's way, and be with the sick and afflicted, Father. Be with those maybe this winter that are struggling financially, God. You know the situations. Sometimes we don't, but you do. So guide and direct and bless now the night, Father, all that we say and do to your glory. For we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Madam President, I have a quick point of order.
Yes.
I realize we do have one more meeting on the docket this month. However, I want to recognize Chuck Hess. This month is his final month with us. He's been a rock, a cornerstone for this council for over a decade, I know, and he's a parliamentarian, probably knows it better than anyone here as far as the etiquette, and he goes, I know that he gets advice from higher headquarters, and I don't mean the state whenever I say that, I just want him to leave here tonight knowing the great impression that he's left on this council. He's also a United States veteran and just a hell of a guy, so.
Thank you very much. I
I'd like
appreciate
to
that.
acknowledge that. Thank you, Anthony.
I'm embarrassed. I don't have to crack a joke so I don't feel so bad.
We appreciate you, Chuck.
Thank you.
And
I
we're gonna miss
appreciate you
you.
guys too. I'm gonna be here on the 27th, so if you don't mind, I'd like to have a few minutes on the 27th to say a couple of things.
I'm sure you can have all the time you want. I know you sure, I admire you. I admire your fortitude and your conviction and your passion, and we're gonna miss that. So,
Appreciate it.
okay. All right, we have no minutes, so, let's see. our financial review. Now, Sheila has us on the clock.
We're shooting for 1 hour tonight.
Right.
So,
I second that emotion. Second that emotion. Did you get it?
in the meantime, in front of you, you have a WOW financial report. It's not a printed out report like Jim was doing. I am going to try and keep them up a little bit, just so that we have them monthly. Other than a few of the grant funds, again, everything is ending the year in the red. We had tax collection again, and we did final settlement on Friday. Those have already been distributed to the townships in Gosport and Spencer. I will email you all a copy of that tomorrow so that you can see who got everything. Our county general fund does have more than what is showing here, because again, monies were put in on Friday from the actual settlement, so. But everything is looking good. I've spent the last couple of weeks going through with departments and trying to, the list you have tonight is because we did transfers or, people have changed funds, Peggy came from one fund to another, so we were able to reduce the list down that you have in front of you. So the financial side is looking good for the end of the year.
Question, talking about 22 and typically what would be a fairly large expense with the sheriff's department, Sheriff Hobbs, maybe you can confirm the police officer retirement expense. Are we good for 22? Is that still need to be paid before the end of the year, or where does that stand?
That, and I didn't catch that a while ago, that one has been paid for the year because you guys had to start out the year, remember, it hadn't been paid, we paid it, it was increased, those amounts have been paid. Unless something has gone up, there's not been any added people to it, so I believe we're where we need to be. We have not gotten the 2023 amounts yet, but we were told early on by Stan Brown that it would probably be near or at the same as what it was, which was 3 something, so, yes, I'm
2022 is
sorry.
good standing, we are caught up in 2022, we should be getting something here in the next few days, for what it'll cost for 2023.
Because I know in the past, we always had, I was under the impression it was more of an end of the year thing, and sometimes that didn't get paid, and then I know we were somehow behind a year or so ago. And so as far as if we go to that line item in the 22 budget, and it should be 0 at this point because
Yes.
it's been spent, it's done, okay.
I think there's one more pay period, we have 2 more pay periods in the month of December, so there'll be a little bit that goes toward that. The last one, I don't think there's anything, so it is a little, we do have a third pay in the month of December, which is going to be a little tricky in getting it done and to balance through into 23, but on that particular line item, everything is, because the full amount
Just didn't want
was
any surprises in
Yeah.
January,
No.
so, okay. Thank you for the update on
The
that.
next bill will be for 2023.
Okay.
Okay. So on to, old business, 2023 budget review. What do we have for that?
I'll let Anton help me with that. You have a binder in front of you. Inside has the 2023 that the state approved and the changes that were made based on the raises that you guys get. The amounts, again, Anton and mostly Anton went through and we worked back and forth, and Polly trying to make sure that we were all matching at the end of the day. There is an ordinance in there that inside the front cover, this will be approved at your 27th meeting. This is just for you guys to keep an eye on it. I also give you the breakdown of what the current, based on your guys' motion from your last meeting, on what individual payrolls and salaries. So we're just asking people to, or we're asking you guys to look through them. If you see anything concerning or anything, it definitely has to be changed before your meeting on the 27th so that it can be approved, because you do have to do the salary ordinance resolution then. There were no major changes other than the raises that you guys give. The one issue was you had $112,608 in your council line item that you were using toward those raises. However, that could not be used toward anybody that was not part of the regular county general fund. So we could not go above what was advertised originally, so we went ahead, so the salaries were correct with the raises and did the raise part and the salaries so that they were correct and reduced other line items. There were some that had extras, the highway is a prime example, it was advertised at 3 million. Insurance wasn't as much as it was, once we did the changes and the reductions in them, we were able to add some monies back to still keeping his stone, I think bituminous stone line items. So again, all the raises are incorporated in what is in your manual, and there were 6 funds that we did have to go through and make reductions. Those people might have to come back to you in 2023 for additional appropriations. But it doesn't have to you can either do it all at once in January, so it's done, or you can wait 6 months or near the end of the year to see if they can absorb it somewhere else. But right now, everybody's budgets are approved. And again, in the manual is everybody's budgets. After tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and send everything out to all the department heads. That also gives them the same 2 weeks to say yay or nay, or hey, I got a concern, or, so that way everybody can weigh in at the 27th when it needs to be approved. Anton, you got anything?
No, I just want to thank Sheila. She's done a huge amount of work this year, in particular on this. It feels good when we go over, $18 million plus worth of expenses, that whatever totals I happen to have through my system versus her summary that you usually get, we matched on every single subtotal in that document. So that makes me feel pretty good that we didn't leave anything untouched. We also did come under kind of our cost estimate on wages. If you remember, we kind of had an $85,000 target for the general fund. I think we ended up at maybe 70 or 68.
64, 599.
64, so, fantastic. And then like highway, when you figured the updates on employee data and all that, we wound up adding, because we wanted to keep it at 3 million, we wound up adding another 10,000 or whatever back into that stone line item. So all around, I think the only thorn in the side is gonna be those little examples like on reassessment, where, and Sheila sent you the email on that, where we couldn't go above the advertised limit for those funds. Yes, there's plenty of cash in those. Yes, we're gonna honor the wage increases that we promised, but it's gonna require some kind of action in '23 to make up those small differences and settle up on them, okay? So just keep that in mind for when we get to that at some point.
Your
in the
health and
future.
reassessment were your biggest cuts.
Yeah.
Your health department was $5,313. They took it out of their group insurance, so obviously we'll need to go back in there. And reassessment took his out of his conferences, which was $5,425. So those will be the two that probably will come back maybe early on, just, unless like an employee leaves. I know Dusty will need everything in reassessment. I'm not sure how they'll fare in the health department, but it's only fair to give them back what was approved. But it was easier to keep all the salaries exactly the way that they need to be based on the race amounts than trying to go back and say, okay, it was this, now we're making it this. This is the way we're starting the year out, entering everything in the computer and moving on from there, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. The numbers that are gonna be short are actually not the wage numbers in those budgets. We wanted those to match up from day one. What will end up being short is like a supply line item or somewhere else in the budget that offset that when she moved it around, if that makes sense. So, because we didn't want to have odd lower wage numbers and wonder where on earth we went wrong, because we'll forget. So we made sure that that was taken care of first, and then we will have to come back and address that.
But I still think it's amazing how close everything came. I mean, we're still not talking a lot of money in any of them.
We have a good system as far as projecting costs now, and the quick ability to plug those numbers in. It saves a lot of time, and it makes sure we're matching, so.
and it still leaves you with $47,616 in that line item in your council fund.
Yeah, now I will caution on that, you know, we just added it in there to advertise. It doesn't
Right,
necessarily
right.
mean we've got extra
Extra
money
money.
going through. So we want to be mindful of that too, but it's a good position to be in, really. Yeah.
Anybody have any other comments or questions? We're ready to move on. Okay, do we have anything about the ARPA fund? Is there any?
I'm just leaving it on there because it seems like it did go back to the commissioners meeting and they approved and agreed with the loss of revenue versus. In January, we will start moving, it was supposed to happen earlier in this year to be able to pay off the two deficit amounts, the $524,000 in payroll clearing and the $448 in the community crossings grant. So the goal will be to start using some of the ARPA money to build up that cash balance to be able to pay off those two negative funds. We could have went ahead and started it in December, but with everything else going on, we're just gonna wait until January. We will move the bigger items over, just because it makes it easier and not have to, you know, every month try to figure out and what the payroll, we got payroll all in there together. I don't wanna turn around and take it out. So we're talking our larger expenses like $48,000 a quarter for insurance and those kinds of things to be able to move. But we will start that process. I'll keep everybody informed in what we move over so that we can start getting those two debts paid down.
Okay, great. That would be good.
And thank you, commissioners, for approving that and getting that done.
Pardon me?
Thank you for getting that done.
Well, that's approval from Barnes and Thornburg too.
Yeah.
Had to get approved from them.
Yep.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Let's open the public hearing for the additional appropriations.
Make a motion, Madam President. One of my final. I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve the following additional appropriations and transfer requests and authorize the auditor to advertise for the new additional appropriations to be approved on the 27th, as presented and written down here and to be placed in the record.
I second.
Motion made by Chuck, seconded by Nick.
So we're combining the second reading hearing portion of the appropriations and proceed with advertisement on the first reading
That's,
appropriation.
yes, that's exactly what, exactly. I just made a blanket motion because, you know, it's gonna need to all be done, so. I just thought, what's the quickest way to get us out of here?
Because we are on the clock.
And who seconded?
Nick.
Nick.
All right, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, I hereby close the public hearing. On to new business. Okay, additional appropriation requests, and that's what that was already done. Department transfers,
Already done.
already
Part
done.
of the,
Okay, 2023 meeting dates.
I think you guys should meet once a week at 5 PM and then not leave till 10 PM. Oh, yeah, I won't be here. Yes, we can. Remember those days?
I did put in your packet the dates for 2023. I also give you a copy of the commissioners' dates and holidays and stuff as well. The only thing, and I talked with Polly, we went the first week of August for budget hearings. That will gain us a couple of weeks of time this time because we can do that, get things entered and be able to bring it back to your regular meeting on the 14th. So that's a big plus on doing it that early. It also gives us more time following in the rest of the year. The only thing you need to decide is if it's gonna be 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Time-wise?
To start time.
Can everybody be here? I mean, that's, I think, the biggest question.
Forgive me for point of order here, but you will have to do that at the organizational meeting in January. we always set the schedule completely for it.
Yeah.
Because you have a new member coming in, and that person must be a part of that decision. So you can by consensus agree that this is what it'll be, but it'll have to be presented in motion.
Well, out of respect for a new member, I'm going to move that we take this under consideration to be approved in January.
I'll second that.
Trying to get it advertised will be the end of January before it'll make the newspaper. So, but we, again, all we have to decide on is the time basically, and I'll get a copy, I think I sent it to you, if you'll look at the meeting dates and.
Well, what I'll do is I'm gonna make a motion to amend and.
Let me cancel.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to withdraw my motion if you'll withdraw your second.
Oh, yeah, someone else. Oh, yes, yes. I am.
No, it's
Yeah.
you.
Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that we take this under advisement, but we allow the auditor to proceed with advertisement in the paper for the January and February meetings at 7 o'clock, because those need to be in. And then we can formalize this
Any changes?
in January.
I'll second.
Any question? Yeah.
Just ready to go.
Okay. All those in favor? All right. Okay. Salary ordinance confirmation summaries.
I also had included the liaison
Oh, yes.
list, your 2022, that does not have to be decided tonight, if anybody wants to move around or whatever, just be thinking if you wanna keep the same.
Do you, are in our packets what it was this year, or
Should be,
it's in there.
is it?
I
Okay.
can say it should be,
Well, the electronic copy didn't have the check marks in it, so,
but I added to.
oh, and I didn't get it in here, but I'll take it. One thing that I'll point out, and this got brought up at our newly elected official training seminar, is, talking about the budget process, and, it really starts, in the spring, or should start in the spring, with the liaisons talking with their departments. So, I would just recommend, double down on that, reach out to your department heads, at the start of the year even, and, just have a sit down and go over current, what's going on in the department, kind of get acclimated. Because they're gonna start having to put together stuff, even as early as May, because, Sheila's gonna be knocking on their door asking for their estimates by June. So, start early.
Did we take care of salary ordinance?
Not yet.
Motion to authorize the president to sign salary or ordinance confirmation summaries as necessary with any problems she can bring back to the next meeting. Or at the 27th.
Motion made by Chuck, seconded by Andy. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
One note about salaries, and Sheila kind of touched on it, we have a draft of the 23 salary ordinance. It's pretty much the same as last year format-wise. The only difference is we took the latest numbers from our last approved 23 budget totals, and we had updated the employee data, and we put those amounts in there. It'll be accompanied with the latest copy of our spreadsheet that supports that. We already have our policy in place as well. So that package is gonna be something we'll need to vote on at the end of the month.
Elected officials and department head comments.
I just wanna make sure y'all will be here at the final meeting on the 27th, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I do have a couple things, I would like to take a few minutes. I got a couple things I'd like to say, a couple announcements I need to make on that day, so. Thank you.
I would also like to request that we let the department heads know that we would invite them to that meeting as well.
Okay.
It's not a mandatory thing, but the more the better.
Right. Right. Yes.
Do I need to go up there?
If you want to. What do you have?
So, I see that you clustered together and approved, what we were needing to move for those line items, that I sent over.
Mm-hmm.
We are kind of, I'm really new to this, so I'm nervous, so let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. I'm looking over our budget today as I did my payroll, and even with moving those line items, we are just consistently having cases rolling. And I've been told, and this is about as far as my knowledge goes, I can't end in the red. So I've moved as much as I could from the accounts that I still had. I didn't realize until earlier today that it looked like we may be needing to ask for additional appropriations, and I knew this was the last hearing, so I thought I'd just put my neck out there and see if it was possible. I think that realistically, it's only gonna be one more pay. Looking at the caseloads that we've had, I would anticipate a couple of lead cases to come out of that, so I think $1,000 would cover us. Whatever we didn't use could dump back over.
Are you talking payroll that
This is specifically for assistant pay.
okay.
Madam President, I make a motion that we authorize the audit, nope, I can't.
Tonight was the last meeting for advertising for the additional appropriations because of the way the newspaper.
What's the
Yes.
current balance?
So,
So we couldn't put it in tomorrow?
no.
I'm just making sure.
Friday. So she has enough to move around. She also has enough in autopsies. If we have to, the last day of the month, we can encumber autopsies or whatever is in there to help pay, we can move it. She can bring transfers on the 27th to do the transfers.
I didn't realize I could do that
You're
after
good.
today.
So you'll have more transfers on the 27th, there'll be more fine tuning. And a lot of departments didn't realize we have a third pay this month, so that's what is, even though it was budgeted correctly, if you recall, last year there was not allowed any encumbrances from the county general fund because we were in the red. That being said, some of those people's pays ended up having to come out of their January. So again, there's gonna be transfers, but she has plenty to do the transfers with. It'll just be from like one series to the other, but she won't need additional appropriation.
Okay, yep, I'll work on getting those
And a
submitted.
lot of times if we have questions, we need to just check with Sheila and she can help you
Yeah, I was a
out.
little late to the draw. I did send her an email, but it was well after lunch today by the time I had gotten everything worked out, so.
We appreciate your interest.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Any other elected officials?
Peggy, will you be at our last meeting?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I want to take the opportunity just to mention, thank you to Peggy because, you know, she stepped up to fill a role temporarily. She had served as clerk and recorder prior to that, and she thought she retired when she announced the first time, but she stepped up to help us out. And her, you know, she hit the ground running. There's no question as to how things worked. It was in the middle of an election, and man, it worked well. And then here she, just weeks away now, she's gonna leave us again and retire, maybe permanently. So I think it's important to, you know, mention Peggy and thank her, and if she's not gonna be at that meeting at the end of the month, I think
I don't know what we would have done without you, Peggy.
I have 12 days.
I was gonna say, every day she tells us how many days and sometimes the hours and minutes. She's
19.
I'm
You
sure
got
with you.
one weekend, so I don't.
Okay. Have any public comments? Okay. Sheila?
We got the opioid settlement money in, the first pay, there's 121,000. There will be a committee appointed with those departments that can use it, and I would say suggest maybe sort of like we do with the people that ask for money for each year in your guys' awards to them, but your judges, your prosecutor, your EMS, sheriff's department, those are the people that need to be on the committee. Again, the first 121,000 came in, we're due to get another 27 in March, and then we'll get like $1,000 a month thereafter. So, this will be good for the community, but it does, I believe, a committee, I don't know if the commissioners will appoint it, and obviously we would want a council or two on there also. But there's no deadline on when to spend it.
Okay, great.
That, yeah, and I just want to reiterate that, I'm glad this came in, but we need to get a committee put together, but one thing it is, we don't have to fast track this money. There's a lot of moving parts, or some restricted, some unrestricted money on here that has to be used for certain things, but I suggest, I know Chris will probably be a part of it, the new sheriff or one of his designees, but don't fast track his money. Just because somebody reaches out and says they need $20,000 or something like that, make sure you get a good committee put together and research it, because it'll go away before you know it. Even though we're gonna get $1,000 every month for the next 19 years, there's so many things that this money can be utilized for, and for good reasons, so we just don't need to fast track the money at all.
Is that it? All right, since we have
Well,
no attorney here.
I want to wish you all of you a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Times are, there's a lot of people hurting right now, losing jobs and stuff, and, we really look, we've all got a lot to be thankful for, and each other especially.
I got one other little thing, you talk about being blessed, it's God, you can't outgive God. 7 years ago, we started a thing, where the sheriff's office bought Christmas gifts we collected lists from schools, all 5 elementary schools for kids that may not be getting a gift, and we made sure that they all got 2 gifts apiece. Well, it started out with 50 kids, this year is 247. So this year I decided, I thought, let's put together a food box for these families as well. And the food box thing is already over 200 families, food boxes. So we reached out and accumulated some stuff, but there's a gentleman by the name of Bill Boone who operates Serpent's Heart out of the south side of Indianapolis, and Bill and I has worked together on some community things out to school, and had the giveaways out there in the parking lots and the Backpack Buddy program. And he told me, he said, hey, I'm gonna bring you some stuff, I'm gonna bring you a ton of potatoes, which he brought to our jail. One ton of potatoes.
Wow.
Yes, but with that, he brought 11 other skids of supplies today. All kinds of food. We have all kinds of homemade wooden toys, clothes, socks, shoes, all kinds of stuff. And the fair board was gracious enough to give me the whole week to have the 4-H building. And so the next 2 days, we set up today, and the next 2 days, the ladies will be wrapping all the gifts. We'll be putting together the food boxes, and so on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, if you know of anybody that needs a food box, I don't care who it is, from 10 to 6, down to 4-H Fairgrounds, come down. If you know of anybody that's hungry, please send them. We have hams, we have turkeys, sweet potatoes, corn, green beans, stuff, and we got the whole 9 yards, plus all the stuff that this outfit brought us. And some additional toys. And he went back home and he sent me a message. He said, you had a prayer today, you talked about how you came out to give God, and we can't. When he got back to his warehouse, there was 2 big trucks full of toys for him to give away up there in his district. So if you know of anybody that's in need, or a child that's in need of a gift, please come see us at 4-H Fairgrounds. We'll be there all week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 to 6. We'll be giving away the gifts and the food box. Don't let nobody go hungry.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Can I add on to something here? Because things are so difficult, if you're watching around the world and you're paying attention, just this week in Kosovo, the Serbians and the Czechs are once again at it. Things are getting bad around the world, folks, and this Christmas season, I just want you to think about Christ, because there are things occurring, whether you're a believer or not. I'm going to give you 2 of those things that have occurred in the last 2 months. Number one, I don't know if you know this, but 5 red heifers were flown from Texas to Israel. They have been looked over and they've been approved as unblemished. The building of the temple requires 10 red heifers. The first ceremony for the beginning of the new temple in Jerusalem is next year. The date is still to be determined. If you don't know what that means, there has to be a third temple built before this man of sin can go in and profane it. This is happening now, folks. Pay attention to Revelation. The second thing is, and I might have shared this before, but it comes from Revelation 16:12. And the sixth angel poured forth his vial and caused the great river Euphrates to dry up. Take a look at it, folks. The great river Euphrates has dried up. The Tigris is now drying up. Yishon is now drying up. And what's the fourth one? I can't remember. Gideon? No, I can't remember. Take a look, folks. If you don't think Bible prophecy is true, you need to pay attention and you need to get your preachers to start teaching you Revelation, because the time is coming. And I know there's a lot of disbelievers, but I would love you guys too, as sisters and brothers in Christ. So if you don't know how, all you got to do is ask Jesus into your heart. It's not hard. Ask for forgiveness. And with that, can I call for adjournment? Oh, right after, this has been the shortest meeting in 12 years.
39 minutes?
39 minutes. Has there been any?
No, there's not.
You guys are awesome.
The church is sitting in the back row.
Last meeting was 4 hours, folks. Bye.